After my divorce, my dad said I could stay in his guest house until I got back on my feet. 2 months later, I came home from a job interview to find all my things in trash bags on the lawn. "You're a grown woman, not my burden," he said, tossing me a $20. "That should get you somewhere." I slept in my car until I remembered the safety deposit box he never checked. Inside was something that. I was 37. No job, no home, and my daughter was living with my ex until I could get things together. I thought I had a plan. I thought if I just kept trying, kept applying for jobs, I'd figure it out. But life has a way of slapping you when you're already down. My husband cheated on me with a woman 10 years younger. He didn't even try to hide it. One night he left his watch on the bathroom sink while he showered. I saw the message light up. "I miss you already. Last night felt so right." I felt like someone poured cement into my chest. I didn't say anything to him. I just walked out and never looked back. I called my dad the next day. He wasn't the warm type, but he was the only family I had. I asked if I could stay for a little while in the guest house behind his main house in Hendersonville. He paused, then said, "Just don't make it permanent." That should have told me everything. The guest house was old, dusty, moldy. The AC unit rattled all night, and the internet barely worked. But I was thankful. At least I had a roof. I started applying to jobs immediately. Anything that paid. Retail, admin, waitressing. I had a degree in accounting, but that didn't mean much after a 10-year gap where I stayed home with my kid. Employers saw a mom and thought, useless. I didn't complain. I kept quiet. I cleaned up after myself, didn't use his food, didn't ask for help. 2 months passed. I got close to landing a job at a bank in Gallatin. I finally felt like maybe things were turning. Then one day, I came home from that interview, still in my skirt and heels, and saw every single one of my things dumped on the lawn in trash bags. My clothes. My laptop. My toothbrush. Even my pillow. I stood there, staring, not sure if I was awake. My dad was standing on the porch, smoking like always. He looked right at me and said, "You've had long enough." I blinked. "What?" "You're a grown woman, Rachel. Not my burden." Then he tossed a crumpled $20 bill at my feet. "That should get you somewhere." He turned around and walked back inside like he'd just taken out the trash. I didn't even know what to say. That night, I parked my car behind a Walmart and tried to sleep. I cried hard at first, but the tears dried up. I just stared at the ceiling of my car for hours. I felt invisible. Forgotten. But something came back to me. Years ago, when I was about 16, I saw my dad slip a key into a folder in the garage. I didn't think much of it then. It was labeled retirement, and it looked boring. But I remembered it recently. The key had a tag that said, Credit Union 237. I thought he might have moved it or tossed it by now. But that next night, while he slept, I snuck into the garage and opened the old metal filing cabinet. The folder was still there. So was the key. The next morning, I cleaned myself up at a gas station and drove to the small credit union he used. It was an old place, quiet. I walked in like I belonged. I had made a fake power of attorney form using a template online and tweaked it just enough. I figured no one would look too closely. They didn't. They brought out the safety deposit box and left me in a small viewing room. My hands shook as I opened it. The first thing I saw was stacks of cash. Bundles of $100 bills. Neat. Organized. There had to be at least $80,000, maybe more. I kept going. There were stock certificates. Old ones, but still valid. Bonds. A will from years ago, unsigned. And then a small black notebook. It was labeled, David's Other Life. My heart dropped. Inside were lists. Payments. Notes. He'd been sending money, $500 a month, to someone named Lisa Benton. For over 2 decades. In the margins he had a note. For silence. Child is mine. I felt my stomach turn. He had another kid. He cheated on my mom and kept it a secret. And all those years when my mom was begging him to spend less, to help with groceries, to save for my college, he was funneling money to another woman. To cover up his affair. To hide a child. That's where her savings went. That's why she was always crying in the bathroom when she thought I couldn't hear. And now he was calling me a burden? I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I sat there and stared at that ledger. And then I smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind that only comes when something breaks inside you. I knew what I was going to do. He thought I was gone. He thought I was weak. He thought he could throw me out and never hear from me again. But I had something now. Something he didn't even remember existed. And I was going to burn his entire life down with it. I didn't touch the money in the safety deposit box. Not yet. I took photos of everything, the cash, the notebook, the stock papers, every page of the ledger. I emailed them to myself and backed them up on a flash drive I kept hidden in my bra for weeks. I didn't know what I was going to do exactly. But I knew I needed to wait and plan. Not rush. I started researching Lisa Benton that same day. Turns out, she still lived in Tennessee. About 40 minutes from my dad's place, in a small town called Hartsville. I found her Facebook page. She worked at a florist shop. Her bio said, "Proud mom to Tyler, 21. No mention of a dad. But I didn't need it. I already knew. Tyler was my half-brother. He looked like my dad too. Same chin, same dead stare. I wanted to message him, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I got myself a job. A small one, part-time, at a diner in town. I used an old friend's address for the application. I was sleeping in my car still, but I was making money. I needed to stay close. I needed to watch him. My dad was still living like he was king of the street. Still mowing the lawn in his beer-stained t-shirts. Still going to that same diner every Sunday morning with his church buddies, pretending he was a good man. Telling people his daughter was off finding herself. I heard him say that once. I was working a shift at the diner when he came in. Didn't even recognize me with my hair pulled back and a mask on. He told the waitress I was in Texas now, probably broke and blaming everyone else for it. I almost dropped the coffee pot. That was when I stopped feeling sorry for him. I got serious. I contacted Lisa. I used a fake name, Jessica. Said I was doing estate work, and had some documents that might involve her. She agreed to meet me at a public park. She showed up nervous but polite. I told her everything. Not about me. Just about the safety deposit box, the money, the ledger, the years of payments. She turned pale. I showed her a copy of the note that said, "Child is mine." She said she'd never seen anything like it before. She told me my dad always gave her cash, always told her to keep things quiet for everyone's sake. Said he was married, couldn't ruin his family. She didn't want trouble. She just wanted to raise her son without drama. So she agreed. She never told her son who his dad was. She asked me why I was showing her all this. I paused and said, "Because he hurt people and thinks he can get away with it." She nodded. "He's done that to a lot of people." A week later, I walked into the law office of an attorney in town who used to work with my mom years ago. A quiet man named Pete Holloway. He remembered her. Said she was one of the kindest women he'd ever met. I told him the truth. All of it. I gave him the copies of the ledger, the photos of the money, the unsigned will, and Lisa's written statement. He looked at me for a long time and said, "You realize this could ruin him." I said, "Good." And then I smiled again. That same broken smile. 2 weeks later, I sat across the street in my car and watched as Pete Holloway served my father with legal documents on his front porch. I wasn't ready to confront him yet. I wanted him to squirm first. To feel a little of what he made me feel. The next day, he came storming into the diner, yelling my name. I was on shift, wiping down a table. I froze when I heard his voice. "Rachel! You come out here right now!" he shouted. People turned to look. My manager rushed out and told him to leave, but he wouldn't. He stood right in the middle of the restaurant, red in the face, holding the documents in one hand and shaking them at me. "You think you can blackmail your own father?" he growled. "You ungrateful little leech!" I just stood there, calm, and said, "I didn't blackmail you. I exposed you." He opened his mouth to yell again, but I added, "Oh, and by the way, Tyler knows now." That shut him up. He stumbled backward like I'd slapped him. Then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. That was just the beginning. The church committee kicked him out when they found out about the secret payments and the other child. Turns out they don't like liars with hidden families. His buddies at the local lodge stopped inviting him to events. The whispers started. People were calling him the man with 2 lives. Some asked if there were more kids out there. I knew that was eating him alive. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. I didn't feel bad for what I did. He could call it blackmail. He could call me a leech. But he was the one who lied for decades. He was the one who called me a burden and threw me out with $20 like I was a stranger. And still, even with the damage I'd already done, I knew the worst part hadn't hit him yet. That was coming. One night, while I was closing up the diner, a woman came in right before the doors locked. She wore a navy pantsuit and had her hair pulled back tight. She looked like the type who didn't smile unless someone paid her to. She ordered coffee and sat in the corner, barely touched it. When I came to wipe down her table after she left, there was a folded napkin with a name and number written on it. Call me Audrey Voss, CPA. I stared at it for a full minute. I called the number the next day. She told me she used to do taxes for my dad years ago, way before I knew anything about finance or documents. She left his books because he got sloppy. Said things didn't add up, records went missing, income wasn't reported right. But she couldn't prove anything back then. After she saw what happened at his house, when the lawyer came, when the whispers started, she decided to look deeper. Apparently, my dad wasn't just hiding another kid. He'd also been hiding money. Money that should have gone to my mom when they were together. Money that technically was part of her inheritance from her parents. I didn't even know my grandparents had left anything behind. Audrey did. She said there was an old trust that had been set up for family use. But after Mom died, Dad moved it without telling anyone. Liquidated it. Put it in offshore accounts through a middleman in Florida. Audrey had copies of the transfer papers. She didn't get everything, yet, but enough to prove foul play. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. She said, "If we go to probate court, we can open a full investigation." I said yes. At that point, I wasn't acting from anger anymore. It was something colder than that. I wanted to tear his entire image apart, down to the roots. He always played the hardworking widower, the solid guy at church, the neighbor who mowed your lawn if you were sick. But he was a liar. A thief. A coward. And now, people were starting to see it. Tyler, the son he tried to hide, reached out to me. He was confused, hurt, and angry. Not just at my dad, but at his mom too. Lisa had protected him from the truth, but now he felt like his whole life had been fake. He asked to meet up. We did. At a quiet diner in the next town over. He looked like me in ways that shook me. Same sharp eyebrows, same chin. We talked for hours. He didn't know who to be mad at. I didn't blame him. But I told him this. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't ask for this. Neither did I. He nodded. A few weeks later, he asked if he could join the probate case. As a potential heir. I said yes. And that was the final straw for my dad. He came to my work again. This time, quiet. Almost begging. He waited in the parking lot until my shift ended. When I walked out, he stepped forward. Rachel, he said. His voice was hoarse. You don't know what you're doing. I crossed my arms. No. I think I do. I'm your father, he said. I gave you a place to stay. I took care of you when you had nothing. I laughed. You gave me a moldy guest house and $20. You dumped my life in garbage bags. He looked down. Then he said something that pissed me off more than anything he'd ever done. Your mother wasn't easy to live with. You don't know what she was like behind closed doors. I stepped right up to him, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. Don't you dare talk about her like that. She gave up everything for you. She cried herself to sleep for years. You broke her. He said nothing. I walked away. By the time court started, he had no one left on his side. The church dropped him. His friends stopped returning calls. People he'd known for 30 years crossed the street when they saw him coming. But it still wasn't the end. Because the court was about to pull back every curtain he'd spent his life closing. And when they did, he'd finally understand what it feels like to lose everything. The day we walked into probate court, I wore my mom's old blue blouse. The one she used to wear to church on holidays. She'd saved it for special days, said it made her feel strong. I needed that. My dad sat across the courtroom, alone. No lawyer beside him. He had fired the first one and couldn't afford a second after the bills started piling up. His face was pale, his suit wrinkled. I saw the way he kept looking around, like he was hoping someone, anyone, would show up for him. No one did. The court went through the documents piece by piece. Audrey, the CPA, laid out everything. How my father had transferred family trust money, how he lied on tax documents, how he kept 2 sets of books, one clean and one dirty. She showed where the trust should have gone to my mom's estate, and to me. Not to a private bank account in the Bahamas. Then Lisa testified. She admitted the payments. She said she had kept quiet for her son's sake, not because she wanted money. She never knew about the trust. She said my father told her it was all handled, and that he promised to keep her comfortable if she stayed out of sight. Tyler took the stand too. Said he never asked for anything. Just the truth. Said his whole life, he'd wondered why he didn't have a father around. Now he knew. My dad finally spoke. But his voice was weak. He tried to spin it. Said he did what he had to do. That he was trying to keep things balanced. That he didn't want to hurt anyone. The judge didn't buy it. Neither did anyone else. The court ruled that he had to pay back the full value of the trust, plus damages. He owed over $300,000, and that was just the start. They seized his accounts, including the safety deposit box. I didn't even touch the money. I never needed to. The law did it for me. He lost his house 2 months later. The same house he threw me out of. The bank foreclosed it, and the county auctioned it off. I didn't go to the sale, but I heard through a neighbor that a young couple bought it. They're putting in a garden where the guest house used to be. The car he drove for 10 years? Repossessed. His pension? Frozen until the fraud investigation finished. His name in town? Ruined. The church cut ties completely. People at the diner still whisper about him. I even caught someone telling the story to a friend one night. That's the guy who disowned his daughter and lost everything. They didn't recognize me. I just refilled their coffee and walked away. But the biggest hit didn't come from court or money. It came the day he called me. I was at my apartment, small, but mine. I had gotten a new job doing bookkeeping for a local business. The owner liked that I was tough and didn't sugarcoat things. Natalie had moved back in with me. I picked her up from school every day, and we were finally starting to feel stable again. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was him. He sounded broken. Quiet. Rachel, he said. I lost everything. I didn't speak. I don't have anywhere to go, he said. They took the house. The accounts. I made mistakes. I know I did. Still, I didn't say anything. Then he said the line I'll never forget. I'm sleeping in my car now. I guess it's what I deserve. That was it. He hung up. I never called back. I didn't block the number. I didn't report him. I didn't chase revenge any further. Because it was already done. He had thrown me out into the street with nothing but a $20 bill, thinking I'd disappear. Instead, I became the one who pulled the whole curtain down on him. And now? I live clean. I sleep well. My daughter smiles again. I cook dinner most nights, and sometimes we laugh so hard we forget what we've been through. Sometimes I think about calling him back. Not to forgive him. Just to say, now you know what it feels like. But I don't. I let silence say it for me. Because sometimes the deepest revenge is living a better life than the one they tried to destroy.